Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Larry Hecker, the Hygienic Design Specialist here at CBT, and welcome to another discussion we're having on hygienic. My guest today from Baldor is Matt Rodebush. Matt, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Larry. Happy to be here.
Great. Hey, before we get started, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I work for ABB, and I've been here for 15 years. And when I started back in early 2000s, it was Baldor at the time. And we've gone through some acquisitions and acquired Reliance in 2007, and we became a part of ABB in 2011. So I've got experience started out in engineering, so I helped design motors for a lot of our platforms. And then for the past 10 years, I've been in product management, really looking at the products we bring to market and making sure they provide the most value as possible to our customers. And my current role is over food and beverage.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for taking time out to speak to us today. Looking forward to it. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're located down in Arkansas?
That's right.
Now, I'm not going to ask you to call the hogs today, but my daughter is a proud alumni of the University of Arkansas, and I have a niece and nephew attending there now, so I know all about the hogs down there. So,
yeah, I'm an alumni as well.
They had a tough loss on Saturday, but I think they're going to bounce back.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about food safe motors. And the first question I'm going to have for you is your food safe motor. What separates it from your other lines of washdown motors?
That's a good question, and I'll be happy to talk about it because it's a really differentiated product in the market. And within our washdown line, we have 4 tiers of motors, starting from our white washdown, paint-free, our standard stainless, and then our food safe motor. The food safe motors are all stainless, but they're really specifically built for zone 1 areas. So in food facilities, these are the harshest environments, typically in contact with food. So these motors need to keep production running, and they need to maintain a safe food supply. As we all understand, food safety is important to a lot of us because we're consuming the food going through these facilities. And it's important for these customers of ours because they have to maintain that food supply and not have to recall food and keep people safe. So these motors are reliable, they're easy to clean, and they're safe. A couple features we do on this product that separates it from any other product we build under the Baldor Reliance brand is the first one is no corrosion. So these motors are all stainless steel construction. This prevents corrosion. We have polished welds, stainless steel hardware. Really the key is to have no catch points, no paint that can flake off into the food and make those motors easy to clean, because ideally these motors are in applications to where they're having to spray them down with high pressure hoses and caustic solutions. So we have to make sure that they don't corrode and they're easy to clean. The second one is they last longer. They last longer than any motor that we supply. They have a 3-year warranty for a couple of reasons. One is the winding. So there's 2 typical failures you would see with an electric motor, water or dust getting inside the motor and failing the winding, or failing the bearings. So we totally encapsulate the windings. So if condensation or water does get inside the motor, it will not get into the winding and that motor will continue to run. And also we have an advanced sealing system. So we have an internal lip seal and we have an axial external face seal. And then on the conduit box, we do an O-ring. So prevent any water from getting inside of that motor to maximize the life when it could be under high pressure washing, sanitary cleaning, and those type of environments is where this motor is intended.
Now the conduit box, that's the nice rounded version, correct? That's all molded right into the side of the motor.
That's right. Your typical conduit boxes will typically have a lead or I'm sorry, a lid that will go over the sides. That's catch points for food. It's also can be penetrated by water. So yeah, that round box design is really sleek and smooth, and make sure no water gets
Right.
inside that conduit
Right.
box.
What about the footed version? What do the feet look like?
So we do have a couple of different versions. We have a non-footed with a C face, and then we have a footed version. Typically on your standard motors, you'd have one foot that goes along the whole motor base. So on our food safe, we do individually welded feet. The reason for that is because these applications have a lot of food, bacteria falling on top of the motor, and they want to be able to get all of that off. If you have a long foot, there's a catch point underneath it where it can harbor bacteria. So those feet are individually welded so that you can clean underneath the motor without an issue.
Okay, great. Sounds great. What's the IP rating on these?
These are the highest rated IP electric motor that you can build. It's an IP 69. The 6 is the protection of dust, and the 9 is protection from high pressure, high temperature spray from water from all directions.
So how was it tested to get that rating?
We have a lab here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's right next to our production facility, and that is where we do all of our testing. The specific test we do on the food safe motors is there's a written document of what we go by. To meet that, we set the motor on top of a turntable, and that motor is sprayed from about 4 to 6 inches away with 176 degree Fahrenheit water, and it's at 1400 psi. So that motor turns at about 5 RPM at a flow rate of about 4 gallons per minute. And we spray that motor at 4 different angles, at 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Each position, it's sprayed for 30 seconds. And as that motor is slowly rotating, you can imagine that that water spray nozzle is going into the shaft, into the seal, into the C face, where the end plate meets the band and the conduit box. So all of those points where you would typically have water ingress into the motor are tested. Once the test is complete, we disassemble the motor and inspect it to make sure no water got into the motor. And that's, if no water got in, then it's a successful test, and the food safe motors pass that test.
It's quite a difficult test for a motor to pass, and so knowing it's IP69 rated really means there's a lot of protection for customers that have their sanitation crews really hosing those down on a lot of times a daily basis. So, what sizes do these come in?
Right, we have this product in our standard 501 catalog, and there's various ratings anywhere from fractional, about a half horsepower, all the way up to 30 horsepower, which is in a 286T frame. That's one of the largest stainless steel motors you can get, and we have it in stock.
Okay.
We have a variety of different voltages, 208, 230, 460, and 575. We have single phase food safe motors, as well as your 3-phase. We do them in a TEFC fan cooled, and also TENV non-ventilated. The TENV, if you can use that option, that just eliminates one more point where the fan would typically be to eliminate any water getting into that motor. We have closed coupled pump mountings, and then we also have IEC mounted configurations up to, I believe it's 7.5 kilowatts.
Okay, you mentioned the one in stock. What's the stocking levels of these, and where are they stocked?
They are stocked in all of our warehouses. We have our top distributors that have these motors as well. And each one of our warehouses, I think we have 23 district offices all over the U.S. And then we also have international warehouses as well. So they're located globally and with really high stocking levels. So replenishment is very, very quick.
Where are those built at?
They're built in Fort Smith, here where I'm at, and Ozark.
Okay. You mentioned earlier warranty. What exactly is the warranty on these motors?
Yeah, the warranty is for any failure before 3 years. So if that motor is an application that sees typical washdown environments, if we see any failure that's due to the manufacturability, we will honor that. So it's definitely intended to outlast the warranty period for a lot of our OEMs, and a typical motor you would see without this type of protection.
Okay, so Matt, what kind of industries are these motors a good fit for?
Yeah, when you think about food safe motors, the first thing people think about is meat and poultry, which is we sell a lot of motors into those industries. But anything food processing, harsh environments, even outdoors, caustic environments that would see a lot of dust, maybe precipitation, different temperature fluctuations would be good applications. Anywhere that has food contact. But we sell them outside of those areas as well, and especially with end users where they want to consolidate their inventory and use one motor across the line because they know that food safe motor will last in any application. But specific applications would be something like a washing system, separating or mixing product, even ovens like for baking, freezer applications, and a lot of just conveyance, moving product around, cutting chicken, meat. Those are a lot of good environments, even in dairy and sugar. We even sold a couple of motors last week to a coal mine.
Really?
So these motors, yeah, with such a high IP rating, that's what they wanted down there because they knew it would last.
Wow, I would never expect to see a stainless steel motor in a coal mine.
I wouldn't either. It was an interesting phone call.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, when some salesman comes in there 8 years down the road and has to replace one of those. He's gonna look at that thing forever. What is that?
Yep.
Okay, so do you have any success stories on maybe an application you guys worked on where it was a trouble application and a food safe motor went in there and saved the day?
We do, yes. We actually have quite a few of these, and many of them are similar stories where they have failed motors, they're getting downtime, their motors aren't lasting, and then they're having to have maintenance even when it's not planned. So one specific that comes to mind was a customer of ours they just had failures. The motors weren't lasting more than 3 months. This was an application to where they're moving dairy and cheese products. It was right before their palletizing units. So they were case packing conveyors, and all that product was coming together, and they're having to sterilize and spray that area on a regular basis just to maintain that safe product supply. And so we came in there and looked at it and suggested the food safe motor. Initially, their motor spend went up because a food safe motor is a higher initial cost because of what that motor has and all the stainless components. They quickly realized that motor was lasting longer than the 3 months and even through the warranty period. And it's a really good success story because of the savings they had. They had about a 20% savings in the motors they were having to purchase because you got to think about it. If you're purchasing motors every 3 to 6 months versus now they're lasting, when they reached a year, they're like, wow, we never had a motor last that long in this application. So it was really good to see that they're not having the downtime. Their production efficiency went up. It really helped out that customer, and we have numerous examples that are similar to that one.
I know you mentioned downtime. Too many times people just look at the cost of the motor itself and say, oh, it's 40% higher, and boy, it's hard to spend that extra. But when you look at the cost of downtime, that can run in the thousands of dollars per minute. A little bit of a higher cost on a motor is quickly eaten up by downtime. So certainly, if you're replacing a motor every 3 or 4 years versus 3 or 4 months, just the downtime alone pays for that almost overnight.
Yeah, we've had end users that have given us examples of a line being down for an hour can cost them, I think it was $77,000. So if you have a 3-hour downtime to replace a motor that went out, that's $200,000 they're losing
Yeah.
for downtime. So it can be quite expensive really quickly. And if you're looking for the price of the motor, you know, the cost of that motor is pretty small compared to the cost of the downtime.
Right. And I think probably where our efforts need to be is determining or letting the OEMs, the people building the equipment, encouraging them to use this better grade of motor so that they can sell that benefit to the end users they're going after with, hey, we're using this motor that'll last a lot longer and our machine should have much more uptime than what you're used to. And so, it relies on the CBT folks and the ABB folks to be able to sell that benefit to the manufacturers so that the end users see the benefit of that when their new equipment comes in with these fancy motors.
No, Larry, that's a great point. You mentioned the OEMs because a lot of OEMs will specify their equipment based on an end user specification. So they have to, depending on the application, the environment they're going into, these food safe motors are great. But you made me think of something. A lot of OEMs, they will lease their equipment. So for instance, they may lease a conveyor to like a bottling company, and looking at how many bottles or cans per hour go through that line, they have to maintain that capacity. And if their equipment is not meeting that, then they have to pay that back at the end. And so they have a lot of accountability on their side as an OEM to make sure their equipment is lasting and getting that 97% efficiency over a 24, 36-month period, whatever it may be. So yeah, to your point, it's very important to meet that end user's needs with that equipment.
Right. I wasn't aware of the leasing deal on some of that equipment, so that's a very interesting take. Well, Matt, I'm not going to take up any more of your time today. Thank you so much for sitting down today and discussing these motors. I certainly, our food customers and our chemical customers, I think they'll all see the benefits of this, and hopefully this little chit chat we had today will get in the right hands, and some people will learn about these motors and hopefully see the benefits of it down the road. So again, thanks for being here today, and thanks to everyone out there for listening today, and have a good afternoon.